and hit me like a ton of lead. If I blow my top, will you let it go to your head? Give me all your loving, all your hugs and kisses too. Give me all your loving, don't let up until we're through.
Howdy folks, every now and again a really bad game is released. Sometimes this bad game is so fucked that you tend to wonder how such a thing could ever be sold in stores. Other times, the game is so glitch-filled and buggy that it seems like it was released as a joke. Well, you just totally stole my thunder there, Shasta. And you're only half right, Mutt. It actually tends to be both. Ish. You wish, Shasta. Anyway, the game that we're taking a look at is none other than that craptacular spectacle of a game, Big Rigs Over-the-Road Racing for the PC. Yeah, if you're familiar with video game reviews on YouTube, you probably at least heard of this game once. In fact, in the wake of YouTube video game reviewers, this game got so much attention that it actually spawned some memes for a while. But there is one thing that some reviewers won't do, and that's to explain the tale behind this game. And, as with any game, there's always history behind it, and in Big Rig's case, about a corporate pamphlet's worth. The company responsible for this lovely little train wreck of a game is Stellarstone. Never heard of them? Well, that's probably because they've been a dead developer for about a decade now. The company itself was founded by this man, Sergei Titov. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because it's the same guy who created Infestation Survivor Stories. But that's another review. Anyway, Mr. Titov was an Eastern European immigrant who founded the company Stellarstone in Santa Monica, California in the year 2000. Now this is where history gets really interesting. You see, the Santa Monica office of Stellarstone handled the business aspect of the company, whilst actual game development was handled in two separate offices in Ukraine and in Russia. Mr. Titov handled the company this way so that costs for making games would be low, while profits would be high. Or so he thought. Throughout the 6-year run that Stellarstone had, 7 games were released. However, every single damn one of these games were nothing more than bug-ridden glitch fests, which were met with scorn and hatred by the general public. Eventually, Stellarstone closed its doors in mid-2006, leaving nothing but a legacy of some of the most infamously bad, yet funny, games ever developed by man. That's right, and that's why we're going to review this game right now. So the game starts pretty much as is. No intro cutscene, no company name drops, just the bare minimum title screen. That's not a problem though. There are plenty of games that do that after all. I just would have expected Stellarstone to give their own name drop before the title screen. But whatever. Anyway, you start the game and you get a selection of 4 trucks. Thunder, Mega 1, Thunder Bull, and lastly Sunrise W12. Now, this all seems good, right? 4 trucks, and they all look unique. But here's the catch. All the trucks in Big Rigs are the same. As in, they control the same. Typically in a racing game, vehicles will have differing strengths and weaknesses. For instance, one vehicle will have really good acceleration, but at the same time have terrible handling, whilst another vehicle could have a really high top speed, but could also be really heavy in terms of weight. Big Rig's character mechanics, if you will, don't work like that. So in the end, it really doesn't matter which truck you choose, because they all drive the same, they just look different. So since they're all just superficially different, I'll just go with Thunderbolt here because it looks like something a redneck like myself would drive. Okay, so you choose a truck, and oh, get this. You have a selection of 5 tracks. However, 2 of the 5 tracks will actually crash to the desktop when you try to play them. The first 3 tracks won't do that, but these last 2 will. Okay, so we choose a level and we start the game. Oh man, just listen to that music and sound effects. There isn't any. Seriously, I didn't mute the game. There just isn't any sound effects or tunes. Now to be fair, the patched version of Big Rigs, which yes, we are going to be taking a look at, does have sound effects, but there's still no music even in that version. I guess the programmers forgot to put any in. Though in playing Big Rigs, I think the programmers at Stellarstone forgot to do a lot of things. Well, the absence of music and sound effects are more of a nitpick on my end. Not exactly a real problem. I'll show you what a real problem in this game looks like. Look at that. Yes, you can actually phase through things like buildings, lampposts, and even your opponent's truck. Now, if that's not humorous, I don't know what is. You can just pass through anything, unabashed, as if it were never there at all. I mean, what? Is this truck made out of futuristic physical gamma ray particles? I mean... There is literally no hit detection in this game. I do not know of any game, racing or otherwise, that has that bad of a glitch. I mean, sure, there are games where it just bugs out and you phase through a wall or floor, but even games like that don't have shit on Big Rigs. Oh, but there is something in this game that makes it all the more humorous. Take a gander at this. My God, this is the kind of truck that Jesus Christ himself would have driven. Well, that goes without saying. Yep, even the physics in Big Rigs seem to be fucked beyond belief too. Look at this. Slopes and inclines, no matter how steep, cannot impede you. In fact, you can even park the truck on a 90-degree angle. Look! Try doing that in any other game with vehicles. Or better yet, try doing that in real life. Because apparently this game says it's possible. This is just the funniest stuff I've ever seen put into a video game. I could just go through objects and ride along up steep inclines. At this point, you shouldn't even give 2 shits and a fuck about the race. Just have fun, phasing through as much shit as possible, and cruise along uninhibited on hill slopes. Speaking of the race, you cannot under any circumstances lose in this game. In fact, the unpatched version of Big Rigs, your opponent never moves. That's right, he never budges an inch when the race starts. You could circle the sumbitch like a freaking cartoon shark, and he'll just stay put. As if he was part of the scenery, rather than the guy that you're supposed to be racing against. Also, if you do happen to go through the finish line like you would in any other racing game, you're presented with this quaint little thing right here. Apparently my name isn't Kenny. The game calls me Winner. I think I know why the winning title says that. As I mentioned before, the development of Stellarstone games was not handled here in America, it was handled over in Eastern Europe. It's very probable that the guys who were working on Big Rigs had a very loose understanding of the English language, and thus they wrote the win title as Your Winner rather than You're a Winner. Yes, by now it's painfully obvious that Big Rigs is a glitchy, bug-filled mess of a game. One of the bugs that really caught my attention was this one here. I think that this trench was supposed to be like a river or something, and they just forgot to put water in. But look at the ground here. Look at how it's just all bugging out and shit. I think that stuff is supposed to be water. I have no fucking idea why it does that and why it's only visible on the bottom of the trench, but I believe that that is what the game's water was supposed to look like. It's like AVGN said in his review of Big Rigs. The water is trying to exist, but can't. In other words, the codes for the water do exist in the game, but the devs just wrote them in wrong. And thus, it just ends up as a weird bug that you find at the bottom of this trench. Even the pavement in this game seems to have a similar kind of problem. But this game has become infamous, mostly for a very particular bug, one that has to do with speed. Oh yes, the Ludicrous Speed bug.
We're gonna have to go right to Ludicrous Speed. Ludicrous Speed.
I have no fucking clue how Stellarstone could fuck up something as simple as a vehicle's reverse speed. This bug right here is what made Big Rig so famous. You go so fast that the speedometer keeps rolling over. There is no game, at least none to my knowledge, where you can go this fast, be it going forward or backing up. In fact, your speed is so high that you end up going outside the boundaries of whichever level that you're playing. By the way, yeah, going outside of the boundaries is yet another bug that Big Rigs has. This is the cherry on top of what's already a bug glitch sundae. If this doesn't make you laugh, then call the insane asylum, because they've been looking for you. So when you do take your finger off of the reverse, the truck just stops instantaneously. Typically with any other game with vehicles, you still move even after you stop reversing. Now the truck will still move a little bit after you take your finger off the acceleration, but not if you're going in reverse. I don't get it. So we've already established that Big Rigs is packed to capacity with bugs and glitches. But as I've mentioned before, there is a patched version of this game. And it does fix some, not many of them, not most of them mind you, glitches and bugs from the original version. So we're going to take a look at that version now. So here's the patched version of Big Rigs. Right off the bat, there is one very noticeable difference, and that happens to be sound. There's still no music anywhere, but we finally get some sound effects. Another noticeable difference in the patched game is that the other truck finally moves. You still can't lose to him, but he moves. So that's something. One other thing that's noticeable in the patched Big Rigs is that you can finally play the two stages that normally would have crashed the whole game. Granted, these two levels are nothing special. They're about as awe-inspiring as the other three, but they're accessible now, and that's a good thing. And as an added bonus for the patched game, the ground doesn't seem to wig out as much as it did in the original version. So, to be frank, the patched Big Rigs is just a more stable version of the unpatched Big Rigs. Though, it still retains many of the other bugs and glitches that we've come to know and love, such as never being able to lose, the beyond fucked physics, and of course, the Ludicrous Speed bug. Whilst finding some pictures on the internet for this review, I inevitably stumbled across the box art for this game. And I think, as a way to sell as many copies as they could, they decided to put false claims on the box. When you look at the front of the box, it looks just like any ordinary racing video game box, right? Well, look at the police car. The cops never show up anywhere in the game, and in fact there's no other vehicle NPCs. But it's on the back of the box where they actually make 4 false claims. The first claim states 4 big trucks with trailers. Well, one of the trucks has a trailer, but the other 3 don't, so that's a lie. The next claim says 4 unique routes including desert, forest, plains, and cities. Well, correction, there are 5 routes, 1 extra. And in terms of uniqueness, the levels are all based on like rocky plains with some buildings in there. So yeah, the second claim is a lie too. The third claim then says, daytime and nighttime driving will challenge even the most experienced trucker. That's technically not a lie. There are stages that take place during the night and some that take place during the day, so I'll let that one pass. But what I won't let pass is his next claim that says, thousands of miles of highway and byways across America. The levels are not that big. In fact, they're actually kind of small compared to what I've seen in some racing games. Not to mention the fact that in each level there's only 1 road to drive on, so the fourth claim is a lie. And the fifth and final claim states 3 levels with a variety of wicked challenges, including the ultimate traffic stopper, a police roadblock. Again, the police are never featured in this game, and there are no challenges whatsoever in this game. So the last claim is, you guessed it, a lie. In other words, Stellarstone tried to lure in as many folks as possible to buy the game. Granted, the game didn't sell for very much money even at launch, but still, kind of an underhanded business practice. Well, after playing this game, going through it, and experiencing it in its entirety, I'm gonna have to give it an H for horrendous. And did you guys honestly think I was gonna give it a higher grade? So is Big Rigs really that bad? Oh, without a doubt, it's a mess. A glitch mess of a game. But it's got one thing going for it though. One thing that actually makes it worth playing. And that's the fact that it's so goddamn funny. Seriously, Big Rigs over-the-road racing is so humorous that I actually suggest that you download it just to experience it for yourself. There are movies out there like Tommy Wiseau's The Room and Birdemic's Shock and Terror, and these are movies that fall under the so bad it's good category. Films like this are the ones that you watch with a buddy, have a beer or two, and just have fun laughing your asses off and poking fun at the sheer terribleness of it all. Video games can fall under this category too, you know. And Big Rigs is one of those games. I'm sure it was all unintentional, but I still honestly recommend that you play it. You're sure to have a laugh, I guarantee it. That's right. Well, my four-legged friend, it all had to do with the cringe factor. The cringe factor. You see, Big Rigs has definitely earned the H. It's a horrendous game, if there ever was one. And on a technical and even on a physical standpoint, it's indeed worse than Hard Drivin'. But Hard Drivin' had the cringe factor going for it. Unlike Big Rigs, which you're guaranteed to have a laugh with, Hard Drivin' is not fun, nor is it humorous in the slightest. Playing it made me actually cringe. The ugly graphics, the shit controls, and lest we forget, the infamous frame rate issue. All of that made Hard Drivin' a cringe-worthy title, Shasta. I know it sounds confusing, but... well, even that's dropped to the low price of free, seeing as that you can download it off the internet without having to torrent it or anything. Anyway, that was Big Rigs Over the Road Racing, folks. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope to see y'all back come the next one. Goodbye, folks, and y'all come back now, alright?
traveling around, I've had my fill of broken dreams and